Shall we begin?
This is the Drunken Fist Podcast with your hosts, Justin Plavick and me, David Bordeaux. This podcast is made possible by the fans of the show. For more information, visit drunkenfistpodcast.com/fans. So I'm a big fan of our next topic. And our next topic is what, Justin?
What we think about mixed martial arts, or MMA.
Yes, what we think about it indeed. But before I talk about what I think about that, I'm going to, what the hell? Oh, yeah. I'm trying a new beer. This is by Brewdog Brewery. I think it's brewery. I don't know. They just call themselves Brewdog, I guess. Brewdog from Canal Winchester, Ohio, which is just east-ish of Columbus. And I am trying their Jet Black Heart, which is an oatmeal milk stout with natural vanilla flavor. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm kind of surprised. It's somewhat of a low alcohol content. It's only 4.7%, which should be good because that means I won't get too goofy during this episode. So hold on, let me put
While you're doing that, I'll give
down.
you 3 guesses what I'm drinking, but you're only going to need 1.
All right, you are drinking Guinness.
Oh my God, how did you know?
I don't know, it's so weird. Probably because you're freaking predictable and you never change, but whatever, hold on.
Hey, not everyone can afford those craft beers, David.
Well, some might argue. Well, now while that Guinness is not necessarily a craft beer, but it's up there with the the real beers with regards to price.
Yeah, I guess you can count it as an import.
Well, it isn't. Oh God, that is good. Hold on, let me take another sip of that.
Just wait, people. He's going to describe the notes to you.
Fuck you! I won't. Mostly because I'm not quite sure how to describe this. Okay, fuck you. I will.
I knew it. All right.
It's definitely got some smokiness to it. There's a little bit a little hint of chocolate at first, but then it definitely smooths out with a milkiness like a milk stout promises. Yeah. Wow, that. I'm kind of glad that this is only 4.7% because that means I can drink more. But wow, fuck yeah, Brewdog. Good job, Canal Winchester. I hope you guys stay around because that's pretty good.
You said it was milk.
Yeah, it's an oatmeal milk stout.
Oh, I do enjoy those. And you said what was the brand? Is it just Ohio?
I'm sorry, you broke up. Is it just what?
Is it just an Ohio beer?
Well, I mean, I don't know. No, you didn't break up. It is
son of a bitch.
What?
You completely dropped out.
Okay. You are dropped. Okay, now you're back.
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay. Yeah, apparently you dropped out as well. So anyway, hopefully...
You want to start over or do you want to edit?
No. We're good because this records on our own ends. Okay. So mine just keeps recording, yours should keep recording, so we should actually be good. What was you asked if this was an Ohio only beer? I mean, it's brewed in Ohio. Now, as far as its distribution, I don't know what its distribution channels are, but I don't know. I mean, I've never heard of it until I started living here in Columbus, and this is the first time I ever drank any Brewdog beer. Their little tagline or slogan is "Born in Scotland, brewed in the U.S." So I'm guessing that the people that started this might have came from Scotland. Who knows? But it's pretty good. So
Right.
let's get on to the topic in case we do have any glitches, audio glitches or whatever, so we can minimize those options. So we were talking about mixed martial arts. I think I would like to change it up. I think I will go first. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, cool. So I guess like one of the first things that we should do is establish what we mean when we say mixed martial arts. And the reason for that is there is a concept of the idea of martial arts being mixed and one training, multiple martial arts. But there's also a greater understanding in the popular culture is of the sport. So what aspect would you like to talk about today, Justin? The sport, the idea of training in multiple arts, or what?
Honestly, I think it's going to tie together. I mean, we could start out with the sport, and I think it's going to ultimately come together with, the meaning and background.
All right, well, check this out. In order to talk about the sport, we at least have to talk about martial arts. So I guess we'll go with the whole idea of mixing things up. So my thoughts with regards to mixed martial arts is this. The idea of mixing martial arts is at times a good thing. A couple episodes ago, we were talking about different types of martial arts. And Justin and I revealed that, or not revealed like it was a secret or anything. We shared our backgrounds with regards to us learning different martial arts to augment or to supplement the arts that we had already trained in or had already studied and to continue to study. And the idea of learning more than one martial art, sometimes from like one culture to other cultures, is not something new. Now, the way that it is new or why it's new is due to the sport. And I have mixed feelings when talking about mixed martial arts. Pun intended. Because outside of the sport, the idea of training in more than one martial art and developing a style that is best suited for you, I wholeheartedly recommend. I mean, like, I would be an extreme hypocrite if I said otherwise. Now, when it comes to the sport, I like the concept of having a sport, having the ability to get in a ring with somebody and testing what you have. Does this work? Are there holes in my style or in my approach to things? Am I very strong in these things? I love the idea that there is a way to find out how well you're doing, essentially. The challenge with that is the sport seems to have quickly evolved or progressed to a sport where people who want to beat the shit out of each other really like it. And what I mean by that is in traditional martial arts, and even the term traditional is loaded, but in what people typically think of martial arts when they think martial arts, which is usually Southeast Asian martial arts. In traditional martial arts, you generally have an idea or a concept of character and behavior and the way that you act and the building of character as you learn martial arts, either as a primary focus, as some styles have, or as kind of like an auxiliary to the training. It just happens. You evolve in character. Now, what I have experienced in a lot of general culture revolving around the sport of mixed martial arts. There are a lot of people who are basically assholes. I mean, I'm trying to say this politely, and I'm trying to be, I don't know, respectful about it, but there's a lot of people who like mixed martial arts because they like the idea of beating the shit out of somebody. They like watching somebody else get beat down. And what?
So it's kind of sadistic, but yeah.
I mean, I don't have I'm not going to say anything negative about sadism or sadistic tendencies because I too have those things. But it's sometimes it's appreciated or approached in a way that it's not to appreciate the art or the sport itself. It's kind of like, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I don't even have an example of this, but it's like, imagine somebody watching American football and they only like it because somebody gets pounded to the fucking ground and fuck yeah, we're going to fucking do that shit. And I'm going to fucking join a football team next week so I can pound the shit out of somebody. You generally don't have that in football. I mean, sure, there are times that people get excited about it. It's just like if you're watching hockey, some of us, that would be me, some of us really like to watch hockey because of the physical confrontations. It just adds to the flavor of the overall sport, but that's not the sport in and of itself. But when you come to mixed martial arts where physical contact, beating somebody up is the thing, you open up to the possibilities of having people like it because of the raw, violent nature of the sport. And that's really where I have a big problem. So again, to recap, when it comes to mixing martial arts, cross-training in different styles, I'm all for it. I mean, I do it myself. I'm an integrated martial artist. I am a member of an association that is all about integrated martial arts. And so I'd be a hypocrite to say that cross-training in other martial arts, is something negative. I don't feel it to be. Is it for everybody? No. Is it for some? Sure, definitely. But when it comes to the sport, I like watching MMA. I like watching competitions on, pay-per-view and wherever I can, because as a martial artist, I appreciate it from a martial arts point. It happens to be the people that I've met who've gotten into the sport because they just want to beat the fuck out of somebody. That's not me. I don't care for that. And their behavior and their attitude toward it, in my opinion, is complete shit. And then there are the spectators or the fans of the sport that like it because of that reason. They like it because of the sheer violence of the violent nature of the sport. And I don't care for that. Now, I have met some martial artists who have gone into MMA, both amateur and professional. They're nothing like that. They're extremely humble. They're very respectful. They approach it as a way to evolve within themselves, both their character and their martial art, their own martial art. So I'm not trying to paint a wide blank, or fuck, I don't even know what the hell I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that everybody who likes MMA or who's in MMA is an asshole who just wants to see somebody get the shit beat out of them. Unfortunately, I've run into far greater amount of people who are like that. What are your takes or views on mixed martial arts?
I won't get into that part. I mean, too much. I will say too, like, yeah, I have unfortunately ran into quite a few people that were what I would say are, how am I supposed to be nice about this? Okay, they're just dicks. Okay. And
right.
they love MMA, and that's cool. My big thing with MMA that has been bothering me for a really long time, and if people have a different opinion, totally fine. We're all allowed to have our different opinions. But with MMA, for me, I get most pissed off of its perception. People see MMA equals cage fighting.
Okay.
And then they see, and whatever is in cage fighting right now that is dominating, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and different types of boxing like Muay Thai or just kickboxing. And people tend to say, like, if you don't know those two arts, everything else sucks. And those are the only two arts that could possibly work in cage fighting. And it's really annoying because I've seen a lot of people. I don't watch UFC anymore, but when I did, I remember there were, God damn it, what's his name? Lyoto Machida. You know, he was, when I was younger, he was doing quite well for himself. I believe he was a champion.
You know why? Because he's fucking awesome, because he's a karateka. He freaking, his main style is Shotokan, which I'm not a huge fan of Shotokan. However, it is still karate. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got the same thing with like George St. Pierre. If that's an old name, I haven't heard his name in a while. But you know, these guys, they were outside of that mainstream box where if you don't do jiu-jitsu or if you don't do boxing, you're not going to do well. They did really well, and they didn't really do those arts a whole lot like the other people did. So for me, it just sucks hearing the name mixed martial arts basically just get substituted, and it means cage fighting. It literally means what you were talking about in the beginning of the episode. It's mixed martial arts. It's knowing more than one art. So I think its perception of just its name, that's the only thing that really just pisses me off, is that people refuse to think that like mixed martial arts means Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and boxing, and then hashtag cage fighting. It's just annoying. Back in the day when cage fighting, before UFC, when cage fighting was actually first starting, that's where the MMA started to come from, because they would do stupid shit like put a 120-pound little karate guy against a sumo wrestler. And, you know, that's where it came from. You have two different arts that are fighting each other, as opposed to your traditional tournaments where are usually like a karate person fighting a karate person.
Yeah, see, to me, like, maybe I misinterpreted the way you said stupid shit. It was like, I like the idea of having a karate person against a sumo person to see what works, when, where, how. Is it the person that didn't, you know, that either succeeded or didn't succeed, you know, like the way that they thought? Is it the actual art itself, the style?
No. For me, the stupid shit comes from like the fact that this poor little guy is going up against someone that is nowhere even in the solar system of his weight class.
But I mean, is that really a bad thing? Because
then you know your limits and what you need to do and what works, of course, and that's all about martial arts. But I'm sure, you know, it was probably a very painful match.
Well, I mean, it could be, and I by no stretch am I trying to say that I feel 100% comfortable and confident in my karate skills to go up against somebody that, you know, does sumo. Now, I would be interested in testing that out. Now, I have sparred with people that have done arts that are like sumo, pretty much. I mean, very similar sort of rule bases in that, and that's fun as hell. You know, I've won, you know, several matches, and I've lost several matches, but it's like, for me, that was cool. Now, I did not go up against somebody whose weight differed mine by an extreme amount. I did go against individuals that were bigger, like quite a bit bigger. And that was fun because I got to use the idea of yielding or receiving energy to allow their energy to basically work against them. However, there's been some times that I didn't yield. I intended to, that was, you know, but they were a little bit faster and their energy met mine, and mine didn't win, you know. But for me, that's cool. So anyway, the idea of a grossly mismatched weight match.
That's what it was for me. Like, because, you know, when it's a competition, you want it to be fair.
But I guess I look at this as not to imply that you're not a martial artist. I look at this through a martial artist's eye, where it's like shit. If I were to ever be in a situation where I'm up against something like this, could I do it? would I be able to, So to be able to not only watch that, I mean, sure, there is definitely entertainment value to that. And that might be why some of these matches were like initially set the way they were for entertainment value. And some of it was, I definitely now it is definitely an entertainment focused sport, which that's kind of like I have my issues with that. But at the same time, as a business person, I understand how business works. You're not going to be able to get people to watch something that is not enjoyable to watch for whatever reason, like whatever they feel is enjoyable. So, getting back to this gross mismatch of weight. Yeah, there probably was some sort of entertainment value factored into that. However, I look at it as something that's exciting. It's like, going into the lab and figuring out, if we do set these certain amount of protocols and we control for these variables, what happens to be the outcome and why did we get the outcome that we did? So, we obviously disagree on a small part of that, but it's no big deal whether we do or we don't disagree.
No, it's the point of we're allowed to have our different opinions, and
are we allowed?
I would think so.
Okay. All right, you're allowed to have that different opinion.
Yep, and I take my opinion with a grain of salt too, because I've never ever been in a competition, so
okay,
I've never been into martial arts to compete. Have I done competitions? Yeah. Do I enjoy it? Not really, but I get its value. It's not for me.
Well, see, I enjoy it. Well, I did until I received my back injury. But I enjoyed it because it was a way for me to sort of test my ability. Now, I say sort of because anytime that you are in a competition, there are some sort of rules, limitations that you're not going to experience in a self-defense situation. So you obviously have to understand that within this contest, you may win or lose. You may get certain feedback, whether you consider positive or negative. You'll get feedback. But will this directly translate to a self-defense situation? The answer is going to be more than likely no. With that said, the competitions allowed me to gauge, hey, do I get this? Do I understand this? Can I use this to my advantage? And it's funny is like when I talk to my students, and I talk to them about when I used to compete. They, like, did you ever lose? And I'm like, yeah. Like, what? Because for whatever reason, we hold our instructors in such high regards, like, well, they must be instructors because they never lose. And it's like, no, I lost. But that's when I learned the most. And that's what I really, like, some of the things that I really appreciated with competing is the losing. Why did I lose? How did I lose? What could I do differently? Can I do something different? Is it just, like because of my height, I can't change my height. So was it because, of that factor? What can I do to compensate for that or to accommodate that? I mean, for me, it's like stepping into the laboratory. That and it's just the sheer fun. For me, it's fun, but it's the sheer fun of just competing because it's a full body workout. So you're exercising like it's nobody's business. You're working your muscular system, your cardiovascular system. You're working your mind as well, building that, and it's all about, for me, it's like a scientist going into a lab doing an experiment. You control for certain variables and you watch for certain variables and see what come out. And then what can you learn from that? And then you go back into the lab and you do it again. But like I tell my students that, I learned the most when I lost. Yeah. And that for me was like the best part. So I like watching MMA because while I'm not in that ring, I have the ability to see what works, see what doesn't work, and hypothesize, different outcomes based on what I witnessed. I almost said experience. I didn't experience, but what I witnessed, which then I can take back and I can take back to my dojo and practice some of that. See, hey, does my hypothesis work? But then, I'm looking at it more from a martial arts viewpoint rather than somebody wanting to be entertained. And yeah, I mean, it's like, for me, the mixed martial arts, even like the sport of mixed martial arts, specifically, like if you're training for MMA, I think it's great because it's a full body fitness program. You work your muscles, you work your cardiovascular system, and you work your mind. It's definitely a stress reliever because, like, when you are able to just put it all out and get it out there, it works. But I do have to ask though, like, I'm kind of switching gears slightly, but it's still on the sport aspect of it.
Before you switch gears, I do want to add, because I realized that
I need a sip of beer. So
perfect. The thing is, because I probably sound like a little bitch, like, oh, Plavik doesn't want to go up against.
Well, I mean,
and it's like, no, I fucking don't, because I need a little bit more context. Let me just tell everyone. I was in a car accident a few years ago, and I rolled my car 4 times. And each roll, they tell me that I must have hit my head, like, with each, like, badunk, badunk, badunk. Right. So I am literally not supposed to hit my head, like, ever again. Mm-hmm. Or suffer, like, some consequences, which would probably, hopefully, not be death with brain damage. I don't know. But it was it was intense. I had, like, amnesia for 3 days in the hospital. It was awful. So that I tend to think a little bit more on, like, the safer end now, which, back then I think I would have been, like, especially in my black belt syndrome days, like, I'll take on a sumo wrestler. Let's do it.
Sure.
But now I think, like, oh my God, that thought terrifies me because I'll get rocked.
Actually, what you're saying right now is a perfect transition to what I was going to say. But I'll add, it's like, I understand the idea of keeping yourself safe because, when I was in Iraq, I have traumatic brain injury. Well, whatever. I'm still messed up with that. And I'm really not. Okay, we dropped for a brief second. I'm not supposed to get hit in the head, like, intentionally. Of course, when I spar, that happens, and that tells me, oh crap, I need to work a little bit faster. I need to study. But it's like, because of having head trauma, I too am not supposed to receive head trauma. And if you look at my pupils, one of my pupils is, both of them are now different sizes, and that's just the way it's going to be for, until, my eyes quit opening. But, and it's like, so I look at the sport, while, yes, I should not participate, and I don't compete anymore primarily because of my back injury, but my head injury does play a big factor into it as well. But watching the sport gives me the opportunity to vicariously live in a sporting situation. But I am going to transition with even what you're talking about regarding injuries and potential injuries, especially with you saying that with your head injury and my head injury in Iraq. What are your thoughts on children participating in the sport of mixed martial arts?
That's actually a great question because I'm seeing that more and more. I see it like I remembered another episode that I talked about an orange belt kind of frustrating me. And I think now that I think about it and actually reflect on it, I think a lot of that frustration too was he wouldn't stop talking about mixed martial arts, and that's what he wanted to do. And by then I'm already pissed off with UFC and stuff. So it's like I think that was a big root of the problem. But with kids doing it, I don't see a problem. I think if that's the art you want to do and you want to get into that, good for you. All right. I'll just say a secret. I've never told anyone in my life. I don't even think I've told my wife. One of the reasons I started martial arts was because I was going to get into cage fighting. And then I started doing that Japanese jiu-jitsu, and it was more on the traditional side. And I started to fall in love with the spirit of martial arts, and I just slowly like lost taste for the idea of like competition. And like I said, I'm not
Okay.
hating on competition. It's just not for me. I'm not a competition guy. Um, I never really got into it. I never really enjoyed it or had fun. Um, but that's just me. But with kids doing it nowadays, I think that's awesome. I mean, that's going to be a skill that's going to be with you your whole life. There, it is a double-edged sword, but it's the same thing with boxing. I'm seeing a lot of kids just boxing too now, and
Hmm.
you just have to understand that any martial art comes a risk of injury. It doesn't matter if it's mixed martial arts or boxing or aikido or jujitsu. There's a possibility of that injury, but you are going to be getting hit in the head probably a lot. So just keep that in
Right.
mind. At that young age, your brain is developing. So that's their choice, and if that's what they want to do, awesome.
Well, the reason why I bring this up is because of the safety factor with regards to developing brains. There is not enough scientific research on mixed martial arts and brain development in children. There's like a few, but I don't even want to reference them because there are speculations that it's not a large enough sample and this, that, and the other. But in Missouri, the Missouri House voted to ban children from mixed martial arts competitions, and I think they even did that for boxing as well. And I don't remember the age range, so when it said children, um, I assume under 18, but I don't know. But the thing is that even American football takes a lot of flack. But I mean, a lot of issues are brought up due to brain injuries and concussions and that, especially on developing brains, that there are some very serious concerns, especially in the sport of mixed martial arts, that if children are receiving these very strong concussions to the head, that not only could you get concussion, which is a brain injury, but you can get other brain injuries that are far greater, and to a developing brain, that is very detrimental. And there is some pushback in Missouri because the the sport organizers and the parents who are pro MMA, pro the sport of MMA, are saying that the government is taking away our ability to choose as parents, and the government their view is we are working to keep your children safe because apparently you are unaware of the damages that can be done to your children. And that that argument there can kind of come into like a political debate whether government should or should not have a say in this. But the reason why I even mention that is and I think there's I know that there are a couple other, I think there's like cities that are doing this as well. I don't know of states outright, and listeners, if you do, shoot us an email at fans at drunkenfistpodcast.com and let us know what you know of this. But the issue is coming down that there's enough concern for brain development and brain injury for children that there are a lot of places that are looking to prohibit the sport of mixed martial arts in children. Now, outside of the brain development issue, the outside of that, my only concern, I mean, you brought up the idea of injury, and I'm assuming the concepts of like arm injuries, finger injuries, legs, whatever. Outside of those, what I don't know, I kind of consider that the potential danger in any martial art. Outside of that, I have an issue with regards to behavior problems or behavior developments, which kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of this, where I experience a large amount of people who like mixed martial arts because fuck that guy. I'm going to beat that fucker up and blah, 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 and punch this. And a lot of these armchair martial artists, if you will. But then there are some who get into mixed martial arts so they can, be a badass and so they can beat the shit out of people. And I've talked to children. I have some students, and when I say my students, the students I'm referring to are my kindergarten through 8th grade students at the school that I teach, because I am a martial arts instructor at a K-8 school. And there are students that are there that don't want anything to do with the martial arts that we learn there because it doesn't teach you to beat the fuck out of somebody. And I have to explain to them, like, man, the sport itself is not intended to beat the fuck out of somebody. The sport is intended to, one, be a sport, so it's entertaining to people that watch, viewers. But it's also the idea of two individuals pitting their athletic ability and skill against each other to see who is able to rise up, to win. It's not about the idea of being an asshole and wanting to beat everybody up. Now, I can't convince everybody that, of that. I can do what I can and I can pull out all my tools in that, but I still have some children walking away with that mentality. Like they want to do MMA so they can beat the shit out of this little bitch that's been pissing them off or whatever. And that disturbs me. I'm disturbed by that because I think mixed martial arts as a sport is a great sport to watch just for entertainment value and as a martial artist. I'm concerned with children getting what I think is the wrong impression regarding the sport and wanting to do things for the wrong reason. So, I mean, that's really those are my two big concerns. The potential of, go ahead, man. Of brain development and then behavior challenges. Go ahead, man.
No, yeah. Just before I forget, the thing is, though, you got to remember that we don't just see that in MMA. You could see that in any martial art, and there's still that person that's going to get the wrong idea of how martial arts is supposed to be. I think it was Joe Rogan who said anyone could do martial arts. Everyone who does martial arts sometimes has this belief that all martial artists are going to be cool dudes, but you're always going to have that dick that wants to just beat the shit out of someone. Right. So, I'm not going to just say that MMA is responsible for that because that can happen in any art, but I get what you're saying.
Well, the thing with MMA is it is the most visible martial art experience for the mainstream. And you're absolutely right. You will have people that even go to traditional martial arts who have that sort of idea, that thought. I have met a couple of people that went into Krav Maga because of how, in their own words, brutally effective Krav Maga is. And they went into that because they want to be able to kill a motherfucker. And I'm like, yeah, the idea, you can do that with the techniques, but you can also do that with the techniques that I teach. But I'm not teaching that so you can do that. I'm teaching this so that way you have a tool in your toolbox. If for some reason, some way, you need to use that tool, you're not stuck in a situation where you might die because you don't have that tool. But the point is that I'm not handing you this tool to specifically go out and kill a motherfucker. I mean that, and unfortunately, I've met a couple of people that went into Krav Maga because their understanding of the brutal effectiveness of Krav Maga in whatever way that they understood it, they were like, "Yep, this satisfies my need." Now, the thing with mixed martial arts is that it is the most visible form of martial art in mainstream right now. So that happens to be the reason why it's focused on the most.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to add to this?
No, I think we covered it. I think we were fair. Hopefully, we don't get too much hate mail.
All right. So
I
if
kept
we,
it pretty
you know,
correct.
I was going to say, if we're not fair, send the emails to hatemail@drunkenfistpodcast.com. Now, if you thought we were fair and you think we're awesome, send emails to fans@drunkenfistpodcast.com. Yeah, I mean, and if you're busy doing emails, or if you're like, man, emails aren't my thing, dude, shoot us or snap a photo of yourself either listening to this podcast, or no, do it. Do a selfie of you listening to the podcast, put it on Instagram, tag us. Our handle is @drunkenfistpod, P-O-D. So that's @drunkenfistpod. And let us know, what are you doing when you listen to this? Are you training in the dojo? Are you cutting grass? Are you driving to work? Are you... I don't know. Whatever. What you tell us, you show us a photo, and yeah. And if while we say whether you dislike, like what we say about this topic, or if you like it, shoot us an email anyway, letting us know what you would like us to talk about, or even what you thought of our episodes so far, because what our listeners think is what we want to serve. I mean, that's essentially what we want to be able to provide, is topics and information that our listeners enjoy. So, or don't enjoy. Anyway, so shoot us an email. You can also go to drunkenfistpodcast.com. There is a contact form on there, and you can shoot us an email that way. Any last little bits of things before we finish this?
Nope. I just hope everybody had fun listening, and just keep doing what you're doing. If you like MMA, go for it.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode of Drunken Fist Podcast. I think, we'll have show notes. The show notes will be at drunkenfistpodcast.com. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast on, where the hell are we? We are on Spotify. Yeah, we're on Stitcher. We are on Apple Podcasts, and wherever fine quality podcasts are distributed. And while you're there, besides just subscribing, leave us a rating. Go ahead and do that 5-star rating you've always wanted to do. Say how awesome Justin is for being a little bitch who's always drinking Guinness, and how crazy that Bordeaux guy is for always drinking these craft beers from Ohio. You want to. But in all seriousness, the reviews that you leave, and thank you for those of you who have left reviews. That means the world to us. When you leave a review, that provides an opportunity for other people to discover this podcast. But this show is made possible by its fans. You can learn more about that by visiting drunkenfistpodcast.com/fans. And until we hit the mats again, thanks for drinking with us. Tschüss.
Bye.